This thing is still expensive, isn't it? What's going on, everybody? Republic Cinema here, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series Deluxe Class 16 Dark of the Moon Ratchet, which is a repaint of the '07 Deluxe Class Studio Series Ratchet, which at the same time is a remold of an older Ratchet figure. In my opinion, the Studio Series Ratchet is arguably better than the mainline, but that's up to personal preference. It's been a while since I've done a review of this mold, hasn't it? The last time I took a look at this figure was when the buzzworthy Nest Ratchet came around, and that was 2 years ago. 2 years and a half, possibly. Before I continue with the review, I actually have an announcement to make. For the first time, I will be voice acting a character in the upcoming What If Ratchet Survived stop motion made by YouTuber Aboy. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. If you're watching this, it's an honor to voice act one of your characters in the project. And hey, if you plan on doing other projects in the future that involve other people to voice act your characters, you know who to find. But anyways, he kind of gave me an idea to do a review of this figure. After all, I never reviewed this repaint in specific. I've done all the other ones, minus the premium finish version, but now I think is a great time to give this repaint its own review. So to start off, the painting and sculpting is pretty good. For a figure that came out in, I believe it was 2018, this was some really impressive mechanical detail. And I guess you could say it still is. The limbs and the head sculpt are pretty spot on to the actual design from the movie. It's just, I feel the painting is a little lackluster in some parts. They literally just reserved the silver painting for the head. The rest of the paint consists of dark silver, black, gray, and green, and maybe a little blue. When it comes to kibble management, it works great on the limbs, but unfortunately the same cannot be said for the backpack. I mean, it wouldn't have been so bothersome were it not for this black piece sticking out like this. I will admit, it does help with this figure sitting down like a kangaroo, but it's still pretty annoying. There is a way to remove it by unscrewing this small screw here, taking all of this out, only you'd leave the wheel in place and then screw the screw back in, but personally, I think no one should go to that extent just to remove a little kibble. Also, did I mention these kibble bits are made out of clear plastic? Look at that. They're ready to break. The fingers on the left hand ended up breaking. We'll get to that in a little bit. For my copy's quality, it's a bit of a mixed bag. On one hand, you have some really tight joints. On the other hand, the ball joint for the left leg is a little loose. Thankfully, it's the only thing that I think is pretty loose in this figure. The same thing goes for the arms, but only if either one is equipped with his accessory. Speaking of his accessory, he comes with his blaster, which in the original version of this mold, he actually came with his buzzsaw. Ha, kind of a cheeky move there, Hasbro. Why sell them with both accessories when you could sell them with one each? Anyways, here he is equipped with his gun. When you do feed the hilt onto the fingers, be sure not to feed this a little too dramatically, otherwise, you'll end up breaking both fingers. I ended up learning that the hard way. If you're one of those psychos who owned the original Revenge of the Fallen Deluxe Class Recon Ratchets, I think that's what they're called, you can also plug the hilt of the accessory onto the slot on the arm, and of course there's no weapon storage on the back. Also, here's what he looks like with the buzzsaw, and then here he is equipped with both. If Hasbro ever decides to do other repaints of this mold again, and if they end up repainting this Dark of the Moon Ratchet with a little bit of battle damage, scuffs, and scratches, and if they slap that figure onto a 2-pack with a scuffed and scratched battle damaged Leadfoot, I just hope this battle damaged repaint is packaged with both of his accessories. Moving on to Articulation. The head is on a swivel, tight ball joint at the shoulder, bicep swivel, forward and backwards bicep hinge joint at the elbow. Unfortunately, there's no wrist swivel or waist swivel, ball joint at the leg, thigh swivel, bend at the knee, ball joint at the foot. Also, the heel is on a hinge joint, but I believe that's primarily for transformation. And I think that's pretty much the gist of the articulation. Now time to move on to size comparison. Studio Series Ratchet, 15th Anniversary Studio Series Ratchet, Buzzworthy Bumblebee Nest Studio Series Ratchet, Bumblebee Movie Ratchet, 86 Ratchet, Gamer Edition Ratchet, Lost Age Ratchet, the original 2007 Voyager Class Ratchet, Bumblebee, Sideswipe, Dino, Q, Topspin, Roadbuster, Leadfoot, and Steeljaw. The Byway knockoff of the Studio Series Ironhide, which in my opinion is possibly the closest we'll ever get to a Studio Series Dark of the Moon Ironhide. Sentinel Prime, Byway Sentinel, Jetwing Optimus, the trailer for Jetwing Optimus, the crazy silver repaint of the Byway knockoff of the Studio Series 32/44 mold Optimus Prime, Western Star Prime, Lockdown, and one more thing, here he is next to the rest of the Autobot gang from Dark of the Moon. The only thing we're missing here is an official Dark of the Moon themed Hasbro Transformers Studio Series Ironhide, which I'm sure would be a pretty simple figure to make. All they would have to do is just swap his arm cannons for his shotguns. But who knows whenever the designers will decide to make a figure like that. Technically, we're also missing Studio Series figures of the Autobot protoforms, as they were present in Dark of the Moon, and more than one variant at that. But like I said, who knows when they'll make figures of those. For now, be sure to leave a comment down below which Studio Series Dark of the Moon Autobot out of all of them over here is your favorite. Also be sure to leave a comment down below if Hasbro should make a Dark of the Moon themed Studio Series Ironhide. And now I think is a great time we get down to the transformation. To start off, untab this whole assembly, bring it up, and then rotate all of this. And we're just going to leave the arms out like this for now. Untap the backpack, straighten it out like so, bring this back part out. To start off with folding one leg, bring the foot back, rotate it inwards, bring it up, open up this side flap, leave it out halfway, close the whole assembly, and then close in the panel. Once you completely folded in the other leg, you can go ahead and bring this whole assembly down, make sure that these corners tab in, and now it's time to work on the arms. What you're going to do first is bring it like this. After that, bring this whole part all the way down. Be sure to straighten this out, untab this kibble piece, bring it all the way out, rotate this black part until the wheel is facing outwards. Oh yeah, and if it's like this, be sure to bring it inwards, and same thing with the arm. And then while you fold this in, you're going to want to make sure that this is fed behind this rubber-ish plastic, and then close all of this in. Also make sure that tabs in. Same thing for the other arm. If you haven't tabbed this in just yet, I recommend you do so. Now, personally, I like to have the head facing backwards, as it kind of would have been a little awkward seeing his face stick out in the car mode, but it's totally up to you whether or not you want the head facing forward or back. And here we have Dark of the Moon Deluxe Class Studio Series Ratchet in his alt mode. And I must admit, the designers at Hasbro did a pretty good job designing the alt mode, but it's still a shame that there's some robot mode parts sticking out, especially the head. Other than that, the alt mode still looks pretty great, aside from the missing paint apps at the lights over here, which was something that was integrated onto the original Studio Series 04 Ratchet. In case you're wondering, the wheels roll just fine, and for accessory storage, the gun simply goes on the top, but you could also have it stored on the sides, especially for rear defense. The same thing also applies with the buzzsaw. And now for a brief comparison, here he is next to the original Studio Series Ratchet, the 15th anniversary Studio Series Ratchet, the buzzworthy Bumblebee Nest Ratchet, and then here he is along with the rest of them. Unfortunately, I do not own the premium finish paint variant, but it's okay, I got the other four. And yeah, you might have noticed my 15th anniversary Studio Series Ratchet does have some warped plastic on the black railings. It is a shame, it is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Just be sure to leave a comment down below which paint variant of the Studio Series Bayverse Ratchet is your favorite. Anyways, I think that's pretty much all I had to say for the Transformers Studio Series 16 Deluxe Class Dark of the Moon Ratchet. Overall, he is an underrated repaint of a figure that I still think needs a remold. I do recommend you pick this figure up to complete your Dark of the Moon Autobot team. The problem is, this figure is not easy to find for a good price. It's been a while since I checked how much he goes for, but on eBay, he does go for roughly $80 to $100 unopened. And if you're lucky, you can find him loose for like $60. If you're wondering how I got my copy, I was lucky enough to find him with the box for $45. Now granted, he was opened, but still. But either way, I still hope this figure gets a remold sometime in the future, as he kind of needs it. I also hope that this remold gets a Voyager class upgrade. If he does, that would be fantastic. If he doesn't, well, that's a missed opportunity. But anyways, be sure to leave a comment down below what you guys think of this figure. Once again, huge shout out to a boy for giving me the idea of reviewing this figure. I still don't know why I didn't review this figure sooner. Also, another huge shout out to a boy for giving me the opportunity to voice act one of his characters in his upcoming What If Ratchet Survived stop motion. Can't wait to see when that video comes out. But anyways, if you like what you saw in this video, be sure to slam that like button, share this with your friends as well, turn on post notifications so that way you don't miss another upload. Let me know how I did in this Reviewdeo, and most importantly, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching. Teo!